Well, now's the time within our show, within this channel, where I ruin pronunciations. Not because I want to, but because I'm just bad at them. We have Noita, or Noita, which is the new album, the 2015 affair from Korpiklaani. Now, Korpiklaani is a folk metal outfit that has been together ever since the latter portions of the 1990s. In fact, they began their career as shaman, and in fact, Noita has a little bit of a reference to shamans, or more specifically to the meaning behind witch or witch doctor. So it's kind of almost like coming full circle a little bit, and which is kind of a unique way to approach this album. Now, this is a quick 11-track album that is 50 minutes in length. There's 10 basic tracks on it, and then there's a bonus track as well. And the very first thing that really will characterize this review, not to mention one thing that will characterize Korpiklaani in general, that way anybody who is unaware of this band knows what they're getting into. Folk metal. What does folk metal really entail? It entails guitar work. It entails some really off-the-wall, extremely culturally significant instruments. In this case, there's some accordion and there are some violins. Whenever I hear anything that's a little bit strange and beautiful, I always think of Skyclad originally with some of the things that they did. They were a great band. Really enjoyed those guys. But Korpiklaani has been part of the newer wave that has sort of brought folk metal to a lot more of a respectability, and it is no longer one of those best-kept secrets from over in Europe. It's now something that's expanded a little bit in America. Past couple of albums by Korpiklaani have charted just about everywhere, except for the United States, because the United States are stupid, and our culture is based off of twerking, which is idiotic. But this is an album that I would say really a new Korpiklaani fan could easily pick up and immediately fall in love with, because it has very catchy, very easy to kind of bang your head to tunes. These are songs that have all of the nice little caveats of a folk band, of a folk metal band, in the fact that it does have a certain element of catchiness to it. It does have a certain element of easy listening really behind it. It's something that has speed attached to it, something that's really very well equipped for drinking, very well equipped for doing some activity while you're listening to it. For example, whenever I was listening to the album for the first time, I was having a beer. The second time I listened to the album, I was playing a video game on Steam, and the third time that I was listening to it, I was intently listening as I was writing. And all three times, I really felt a very strong connection to the album, regardless of what activity that I was participating in. But this is something that you could easily play whenever you're having a campfire with a bunch of your friends. Now, as far as the musicianship is concerned, Korpiklaani has been one of the most solid acts in the business whenever it comes to that. This is something where their style is not one that requires too much in the way of deviation. It's not one that requires too much in the way of difference. Now, the positive part about this is that your fans are always going to go home happy almost universally, but the bad news about that is that you're probably not going to wow people to the very extent where they're going to consider it to be the album of the year. Now, this is a band that earlier on in their career you could definitely see a huge differential point. There were some songs that definitely showed that they had a lot more in the way of some pacing that really worked to their advantage, and it's still something that shows on this album, but albeit in very small cycles. It's not something that's as prevalent. This is a very quick-paced album that it has a richness of riffs in order to really go with. And in fact, at times during the latter half of this album, which is a bit more lengthy than the former half, I would say it probably spans about 60% of the album to the former half's 40%. There's some riffing that really reminds me of what folk metal would sound like, with Iron Maiden style riffing very much attached to it, and that is a terrific combination. You might be wondering why I'm not going and hailing towards specific songs. It's because I don't want to ruin pronunciations, and also, secondly, I don't want to ruin the experience. This is an experience that can easily be had from the very first track all the way to the 11th track, the bonus track on this album. It's one that could easily be done in one sitting. It's one that easily could be repeated after that one sitting. It's just a really fun album. It has a lot of catchy hooks, a lot of great melody to it, and the musicianship is so well put together that it's really hard to be very disappointed with these guys. It's very hard to be disappointed with Korpiklaani. They've been on this great roll for the past couple of albums. I'm still, and this is just personal, this is really just personal, I'm still a very big fan, and maybe a bigger fan of their work from the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, I would say. but this stuff is great too. So if you're a new Korpiklaani fan, if this is the first time you've ever heard of the band, heard the word, this is an album to pick up. This is one to try out for yourself. There's a good chance that you're really going to enjoy it, especially if you're a guy that really likes to kind of have a good time and chill with some of your other metal-loving friends and like to have a beer every so often. This is great music this is great music to drink to. I'm just going to throw that out there. As far as a score is concerned, I'd probably give this an 82 out of 100. It's a solid album and has all of the great niche sounds that Korpiklaani and bands like them really possess and give to a listener, and it's just one that feels very complete. It has a great feel to it. The flow of this album is exquisite. It's one that definitely doesn't feel like it's too jumbled or jargled. This is just an album that has a terrific balance to it, and the only thing that I would probably have wanted selfishly is maybe a lengthy 8 to 9 minute long track with the pacing kind of tuned down a little bit right in the middle just to give it a little bit of that additional flavor. You kind of get that with track number 6 with Mina Nain Vedessa Niden, but it's not one that really is the same as to what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about songs like With Trees from all the way back in the middle part of the 2000s, and I probably ruined that song title, sadly, so that's why I tried to avoid that mostly throughout this review. But what did you guys think about this album? What do you guys think about Korpiklaani in general? I want to know, so you're going to tell me. Tell me in the comments below, and of course, like and subscribe to the channel and go over to the Facebook page. There's a link in the description box for you to head on over there and join the nation, because that's where I get a lot of data from you guys, a lot of information, and that's the stuff that sometimes ends up being the reviews. It ends up being the videos here, so it's definitely awesome and definitely important to be a part of that community. So I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks, and have a good one.